Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this time, we will explain you about the material of nonverbal communication. And for the beginning, we must know about the definition. What is nonverbal communication? Nonverbal communication is a process of generating meaning using behavior other than words. Nonverbal communications includes vocal elements and non-vocal elements. Vocal elements, which are referred to paralanguage, include pitch, volume, and rate, whereas non-vocal elements are usually referred to as body language, includes gestures, eye contact, and facial expressions, etc. The history of nonverbal communication dates back to the late 80s, in which Charles Darwin argued that animals and humans openly and unintentionally show some level of emotion. He started studying nonverbal communication after observing that animals like dogs, tigers, and lions also use expressions and signals to communicate with each other. After that, he believed that animals could only communicate nonverbally, and humans, as direct descendants, share many of these characteristics. The purpose is to convey meaning by reinforcing verbal communication. For example, people may nod their heads vigorously when saying yes to emphasize that they are agree with the other person. The function is to convey important interpersonal and emotional messages, regulate the conversational flow, affect relationships, and also express our identities. Okay, let's move to the category of nonverbal communication. There are 5 categories, including kinesics, haptics, vocalics, prosemics, and chronemics. But first, we are moved to the kinesics. What is kinesics? Kinesics come from the root word kinesis, which means movement. This section will outline the use of gestures, the head movements and posture, eye contact, and facial expression as nonverbal communication. Number 2 is haptics. Refers to the study of communication by touch, including functional, professional, social polite, friendship warmth, love intimacy, and sexual arousal touch. Number 3. Vocalics. We learned earlier that paralanguage refers to the vocalized, but nonverbal parts of a message. Vocalics is the study of paralanguage, which includes the vocal qualities that go along with verbal message, such as pitch, volume, rate, vocal quality, and verbal fillers. Number 4. Prosemics refers to the study of how space and distance influence communication. For example, when we are content with and attracted to someone, we say we are close to him or her. When we lose connection with someone, we may say he or she is distant. In general, space influences how people communicate and behave. And for the last is chronemics, refers to the study of how time affects communication. Time can be classified into several different categories, including biological, personal, physical, and cultural time. Okay, that's it for me. For the next material will be explained by Mita Etikasari. Mita, time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And in this session, I will explain about cultural difference in nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication express meaning or feeling without words. Universal emotions such as happiness, fear, sadness are expressed in a similar nonverbal way throughout the world. There are, however, nonverbal differences across cultures that may be a source of confusion for foreigners. Let's look at the way people express sadness. In many cultures, such as Arab and Iranian cultures, people express grief openly. They mourn out loud, while people from other cultures, example Chinese and Japan, are more subdued. In Asian cultures, the general belief is that it is unacceptable to show emotion openly, whether sadness, happiness, or pain. Let's take another example of how culture differ in their nonverbal expression of emotion. Feeling or friendship exists everywhere in the world, but their expression is various. It is acceptable in some countries for men to embrace and for women to hold hands. In other countries, this display of affection are discouraged or prohibited. As with nonverbal communication, what is considered Usual or polite behavior in one culture may be seen as unusual or impolite in another. One culture may determine that snapping finger to call a waiter is appropriate, whereas another may consider. We are often not aware of how gestures, facial expression, eye contact, and the use of conventional disdain affect communication. To interpret another culture's style of communication, it is necessary to study the silent language of that culture. Okay, next is gesture and body positioning. Gestures are specific body movements that carry meaning. Hand motions alone can convey many meanings. Come here, go away, it's okay, and that is expensive are just a few examples. The gesture for this process often differ across cultures. For example, beckoning people to come with the palm up is common in the United States. The same gesture in the Philippines, Korea, and parts of Latin America, as well as other countries, is considered rude. In some countries, only an animal will be beckoned with the palm up. As children, we imitate and learn to use this nonverbal movement to accompany or replace words. When traveling to another country, foreign visitors soon learn that not all gestures are universal. For example, the OK gesture in the American culture is a symbol for money in Japan. This same gesture is obscene in some Latin American countries. This is why the editor of a Brazilian newspaper enjoyed publishing a picture of former American president giving the OK symbol with both hands. Many American business executives enjoy relaxing with their feet up on their desks, but to show a person from Saudi Arabia or Thailand the sole of one's foot is extremely insulting because the foot is considered the dirtiest part of the body. And next is facial expressiveness. Facial expressions carry meaning that is determined by situations and relationships. For instance, in American culture, the smile is typically an expression of pleasure, yet it also has other functions. A woman's smile at a police officer does not carry the same meaning as the smile she gives to your child. A smile may show affection, convey politeness, or these true feelings. For example, many people in Russia consider smiling at strangers in public to be unusual and even suspicious behavior, yet many Americans smile freely at strangers in public places. Some Russians believe that Americans smile in the wrong place. Some Americans believe that Russians don't smile enough. In Southeast Asian cultures, a smile is frequently used to cover emotional pain or embarrassment. Vietnamese people may tell the sad story of how they had to leave their country but end the story with a smile. Our faces reveal emotions and attitudes, but we should not attempt to read people from another culture as we would read someone from our own culture. The degree of facial expressiveness one exhibits varies among individuals and cultures. The fact of that members of one culture do not express their emotions as openly as do members of another does not mean that they do not experience emotions. Rather, there are cultural restraints on the amount of non-verbal expressiveness permitted. For example, in public and formal situations, many Japanese do not show their emotion as freely as Americans do. More privately and with friends, Japanese and Americans seem to show their emotions similarly. Many teachers in the United States have a difficult time knowing whether their Japanese students understand and enjoy their lessons. The American teacher is looking for more facial responsiveness than what the Japanese student is comfortable with in the classroom situation. It is difficult to generalize about Americans and facial expressiveness because of individual and ethnic difference in the United States. People from the certain ethnic background in the United States tend to more facially expressive than others. The key is to try not to judge people whose way of showing emotion are different. If we judge according to our own cultural norms, we may make the mistake of reading the other person incorrectly. Maybe that's all from me. I think enough. I'm sorry in my explanation so many mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.